Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the Rejuvenation YouTube channel. So good to have you here. I want to say thank you to everyone who's been viewing these videos faithfully with us. If this is your first time checking us out, I want to say a personal thanks. My name's Isaac. I'm the director here at Rejuvenation, and it's so good to have you on here. I really hope that this YouTube channel inspires, impacts, and just encourages you to simply grow closer to what God has for your life, your full potential and your full purpose. We've been going through a series called Stay Planted, and it's really cool to hear stories from people about how this series has been affecting people's lives and really just encouraging them to step out and take that step to plant their faith, grow their faith, and then also harvest their purpose. It's really cool to see how God's just been using young people in the church all around Seattle to impact their church and really rejuvenate their city. Last week we talked about what faith is, and we talked about kind of the essence of faith. And I think this week I just wanted to talk about what it really means to grow our faith and what it entails, what growing our faith can really look like. And I think that as we grow our faith, some of the first things that hold us back are growing pains. You know, as we go through life, we have these things called growing pains, different seasons, hardships, trials and tribulations. And sometimes we don't know how to go through them. And sometimes those trials and tribulations knock us off course and we walk away from God instead of walking to God. And so I really want to go through this YouTube video today and talk about how we can grow our faith in the midst of pain, in the midst of our growing pain, and to see how God can use it. You see, first and foremost, I just wanted to make sure and make clear to you guys that there's this guy named Satan, and he's really out there, and his goal is to distract you from God's purpose on your life. He wants to hold you back. He doesn't want you to advance. And so I think it's key that we look at, God does not inflict pain on us. He allows pain, and there's a very big key difference in there. You know, Satan wants to knock you off your course, but I believe that even though we have minor setbacks, God can still use our minor setbacks for major comebacks, but it takes faith. And so we're going to look today at what the Bible says about faith and growing. So today we're going to turn our Bibles to Romans 5, and we're going to read verses 4 and 3. And what it says here, it says Romans 5 verse 3. We can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials, for we know that they help us develop endurance, and endurance develops strength of character, and character strengthens our confident hope of salvation. And I just love this verse because it brings up so many questions. But before we really dig this verse out, I wanted to give you guys some context and what it really means. You see, Romans was written by this dude named Paul, and Paul was a disciple, a follower of Jesus. And so he's writing to the Christians of Rome in this time. And scholars would argue that the book of Romans is kind of the faith handbook. And as we talk about faith, I think it's cool that we go to Romans, we go to the Word of God to see what it says about it. And so Paul basically puts in the book of Romans, pen to paper, what it means to be a Christian, and understanding that you're a sinner and you're broken apart from Jesus, and because of what Jesus did on that cross, now we have a chance to have hope and faith in him. And because of that hope and faith, a relationship with Jesus and faith in Jesus comes from a relationship with him and not a religion. It's not about rules, do's, and don'ts. Paul makes it very clear in the book of Romans that it is by the grace of God that we are saved. And it's nothing that we've ever done, but it's simply a gift, and we've done nothing to earn it. Therefore, our faith comes from a relationship, from growing with God, and not really a religion in God. And so I really want us to think about, are we growing in a relationship with God, or are we just kind of looking at a religion of God? And so with that in mind, I think it's very key as we look at why Paul is saying rejoice. I believe that Paul is describing to us we can rejoice in the simple fact that we are saved, in the simple fact that we are sons and daughters of Jesus Christ. And even though we may not be where we want to be, it's thank God by God's grace that we're not where we deserve to be, which is separation from God. And so he's saying rejoice in the midst of trials and tribulations, and you're rejoicing in the fact that you still got Jesus, you're making progress, you're doing better than you think you are, and God is still working in your life. So in the midst of that, you can rejoice. You might be thinking to yourself right now, how can Paul tell me to rejoice? He doesn't know what I'm going through. My parents are divorced. I'm struggling from anxiety and depression. I'm going through all these different pain, trials, and tribulations, and I don't know what to do. How can Paul tell me to rejoice? I think Paul has every right to tell you to rejoice, actually. If you look at Paul's life, he went through a crazy life. Before Paul was a Christian, he killed Christians. And so some of us would think, oh, God can't forgive me for what I've done. If God can forgive Paul for killing Christians, he can forgive you for your little sins. God's grace is abundant for you. Also, if you look at Paul's life, he went through immense different pain and trials. Paul lost his eyesight at one point. And I think that that's key, because in the Bible, God could use that as a sense that sometimes God needs to take our eyesight so that we have true faith in the only thing that we can see, which is him. And also, you want to talk about pain. Paul got locked up in prison. Paul got beaten, all different types of things. But Paul's reactions are what's so key. There's a verse in the Bible where it talks about Paul literally preaching the gospel in the town that he lived in. And right after he preached the gospel, they tied him up and they beat him in front of everyone. And then in the book of Acts, it says he left rejoicing that they had counted him worthy to suffer for the gospel. And you say, how could they leave rejoicing after they just got beaten? How could they leave rejoicing after they just went through all that pain, in and out of prison, getting beaten for praising the gospel? And I think it's very key that we look at Paul's perspective was never on his pain. Paul's perspective was never on his problems. Paul's perspective was always focused on Jesus, and the joy of the Lord truly was his strength. In the midst of all the pain and the problems that Paul went through, his perspective was focused on Jesus, and he really understood the best is yet to come. And he didn't mean the best is yet to come here on earth. He meant the best is yet to come on heaven. He knew that this world had nothing to offer him. The fame and the fortune, none of it had anything to offer him. He knew that if he was faithful here on earth, and when he died and went to heaven, no matter what, even if he's getting beaten, even if he's doing things that are crazy, as long as he's doing it for Jesus, he knew the best is yet to come, because when he goes to heaven and hears from God, well done, thy good and faithful servant, the best is yet to come, because he's looking towards heaven and he's looking towards what God has for him. And I think that that should be our prayer, that no matter what we're going through in life, that we would always see the best is yet to come. I may not be where I want to be, but thank God it's not where I deserve to be. I'm looking towards Jesus. He's my rock. He's my fortress. He's where I'm going. I'm harvesting his purpose. I want to live for Jesus. I want to impact this world for God, in my school, in my family, in my friend groups, and really be used and understand that the best is yet to come. I'm not here for this world. I'm looking towards heaven. My prayer for all of you is that no matter what kind of pain, no matter what your trials and tribulations, I'm not trying to take anything away from that. But I think that you need to understand that this world isn't perfect. There's lots of things that aren't going to go our way. But if your perspective and your eyes and your heart is focused on Jesus, I believe that you're never going to be lost. You know, it says in the Bible, the Lord will never leave you nor forsake you. He's walking this journey right along with you. And remember last week we talked about faith isn't just an event. Faith is a journey. And I think that if you can have your eyes focused on Jesus, you're going to be able to flip that pain as the devil tries to come after you and say, nah, the devil tried and I took it and flipped it, turned that pain into a platform to stand on and point more and more people to Jesus. Just want you guys to know God's got you. He loves you. I don't know what you're going through, but I know that God's walking right there with you and he wants to help you. Keep seeking him, keep chasing after him, continue to trust God, and continue to just, as you plant your faith, continue to let him grow you, continue to let him mold you. Don't let the pain affect your potential that could potentially harm your purpose. Fix those eyes on Jesus. We love you guys. Thank you so much for being so faithful to this YouTube channel and watching it. I encourage you guys, share this with your friends. Definitely subscribe, like the page, share it, copy the link, do anything you can to really get this word out. Again, we always hope that you guys find love, peace, and hope in Jesus Christ. And as you do that, rejuvenate your city. Thank you guys so much. Have a blessed week. How did that sound? Good for the most part? Mm-hmm. Made sense? Mm-hmm. Cool. Not too fast. I was going a little fast, but I was slowing down the parts. Cool. All right, let's put these chairs back for that.